everybody! 大家好! I welcome you to Jade Palace Yamingong. My name is Yaya. To continue the Dragon Boat festivities, let's learn about and make some 粽子 for fun. So let's get started. A disclaimer that I am not a good cook. You have probably noticed in my previous cooking videos, so please be safe. The 粽子 that I am making today are not the super traditional ones, but instead my family's recipe. So it's more of an amalgamation of different cultures than a more specific one. 粽子, also called sticky rice dumplings, and also Chinese tamales, are glutinous rice and fillings usually wrapped in a type of meat. Traditional Chinese ones use bamboo leaves. We eat 粽子 during 端午节 or the Dragon Boat Festival, and in ancient times you would only be able to eat it once a year, but now you can enjoy it almost all year round. They can either be sweet or savory. Sweet ones usually have red beans or mung beans, while savory ones can have all different types. Today, we're going to be making some savory ones. A heads up that making 粽子 does require a lot of prep work and waiting. Some of your ingredients you need to prep at least 24 hours prior, and cooking also requires several hours of waiting, but it's so worth it. The main ingredients that you're going to need are bamboo leaves, glutinous rice, and your filling. I am using braised pork belly and stir-fried shiitake mushrooms with Chinese sausages. In Mandarin, they're called xiangchang, and in Cantonese, they're called lapterang. I call them lapterang. And you need twine. Let's start with what you had to prepare the day before. This includes the bamboo leaves, your glutinous rice, and also your mushroom. If the hands look different in this part, it's because they're my mom's hands. My mom was really helping me prep for this video. For the bamboo leaves and the glutinous rice, you want to soak them in water ahead of time. For the bamboo leaves, you want to soak them for at least 24 hours before using. Make sure to use hot water when soaking. Prior to use, make sure to boil them and let them soak for a little bit more. For the glutinous rice, you want to soak them for at least a couple hours, but it's preferable to soak them overnight. Before using, drain out the water to the rice as well as the leaves. For the shiitake mushrooms, you also want to soak them a couple hours prior, then slice them into thin slices. Then you stir-fry them. I have some prepared that have also been stir-fried with some Chinese sausages and shallots. For the braised pork belly, you're going to cut the pork belly into 1 by 1 inch cubes. Then you're going to let it sit in your spices. I use cinnamon, 5-spice, white pepper salt, cooking wine, and salt. Mix and let it sit. Toss it into a hot pan with some shallots and ginger slices. Stir around until the pork belly is half cooked with a nice crust. Pour in some light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, a cup of water, sugar, and some star anise. Add in some more cooking wine. Let it simmer, stir occasionally. After simmering until the sauce becomes thicker, cut the heat and transfer the meat into a bowl. Do not discard the sauce as you can use it to marinate the rice. Mix your rice with a little bit of oil and soy sauce. This is to flavor the rice after cooking. If you use completely raw glutinous rice, then the cooking time for your 粽子 is around 7 hours. If you want to cut down the cooking time, then follow my next step. Otherwise, ignore the next part. Take your rice and stir fry it until it is half cooked. During this time, you can add in oil and the pork marinade slowly. You can also add in the mushroom water. By doing this, you not only cut down the cooking time, but also make the rice much more fragrant. Keep stirring until the rice is slightly translucent and have soaked up most of the water. Then cut the heat and transfer it into a bowl. Now take your bamboo leaves and pat them dry. You don't want them super dry, but at the same time, you don't want them dripping wet. Then, you also want to cut off the first half inch of the white part of the leaf. This part is rigid and it will puncture and rip the rest of your leaf. So we're going to cut that off, just like that. A heads up that this is probably the hard part of making 粽子, the folding part. So you take your leaves and you stack them on top of each other with the shiny side up. Make sure that they're not directly on top of each other, but kind of off to the side. Then you take the leaf and you fold it and tuck it in until it is a conical shape. And it's okay if you kind of make a mistake. You can kind of just unfold them and refold them. As long as there's no filling inside, you're okay. So I'm gonna keep just like that. So kind of like an ice cream cone, but with bamboo leaves. So now that you have a cone, you take your rice and you pack it down into the bottom. Just a scoop first. Just like that. Now that you have a scoop, you take some of your filling. I'm taking like a spoonful of the shiitake mushroom and the sausage mix and a piece of meat. So depending on the size of the meat, you put 1 or 2 pieces in. If it's small, you put 2 pieces. If it's a large piece, then you only put 1 piece. Some people also put salted egg yolk. Personally, I don't like salted egg yolk. And now that you have your fillings in, you're just gonna top it off with the rice and pack it in until it reaches the brim of your cone. Just like that. I'm gonna pack it in. Until it is kind of full. Then what you do is that you're gonna take the long leftover part of the leaf and fold it over. Make sure to pinch the sides and fold down the sides of the leaf. If you have the long tail, you just fold it over just like that. Now that it's folded, you're gonna wrap it with some twine. Cotton twine is preferable. And the trick about wrapping 粽子 is that you don't want it too loose or else your 粽子 will fall apart, but you don't want it too tight because the rice needs to expand when it's cooking. I personally like wrapping it around 3 times before tying it off. You can now either cut it off short and just tie it off, or traditionally you actually leave a long tail so you can actually tie your 粽子 together. Now you have a bunch of 粽子. And there you have it, your first 粽子. Isn't that so cute? So you're actually going to be making a lot more, so let's keep on making them. So the origin of 粽子 is said to have started around 3,000 years ago. We associate 粽子 with 端午节 because of the myth of Qu Yuan. Qu Yuan was a poet as well as a politician of the state of Chu Guo during the Warring States era. So in my last video, I did go into detail about this myth, but the short story is that he was exiled, and while in exile, he learned on how his home state was taken over by the Qing state. He was so heartbroken that he threw himself into the river. Because he was such a good person, the locals really mourned his death. So they set out in boats and searched for his body, but they could not find his body. So in order to prevent the fishes from eating his body, they threw sticky rice into the river so that the fish would eat the rice instead of Qu Yuan's body. And because of that, the traditions of the sticky rice turned into 粽子, which is why we eat 粽子 during the Dragon Boat Festival. And sometimes if the tail is too long and you fold it over and doesn't look very good, what you do is that you take the tail, you fold it in, and you fold it over so it becomes a little bit more uniform. And the thing about making 粽子 is that you're going to be making a lot. You're not just gonna sit there and make one. Depending on how much ingredients you have prepared, I would say around 10 to 15 plus. And unless you're having a party, you're not just gonna sit there and eat 15 粽子 in one sitting. That's crazy. I would do it though. But for storage, what you would do is that you just either put them in the fridge or in the freezer until they're ready to cook. Ta-da! And now you have your bunch of 粽子. Aren't they so cute? And now that you have them folded, you cook them. And you can cook them 2 ways. You can either boil them or steam them. Today, I'm gonna boil them, but steaming is just as good. So you take a pot of water and you put it on your stove. I'm gonna turn on my stove and it's a little loud, so please excuse the noise. So we're gonna wait until our water comes to a simmer, but not a full boil. Now that your water is ready, you're gonna take your bunch of 粽子 and you're gonna cut them off of the bunch. So you take it and you just snip it off and you drop it into the pot. Take your 粽子, snip it off, and drop it into the pot. Now that they're in the pot, you're gonna let them cook for around an hour to an hour and a half. Remember, we used half-cooked rice, which cuts down the cooking time by a lot. If you used raw rice, you will want it to simmer for at least 7 to 8 hours until it is fully cooked through. So we're gonna just leave them in the pot, and you want to make sure that they're completely submerged. You see how here they're kind of floating, but it's okay. Most of the zongzi is in the water, and you're just going to let them cook. Remember to also keep your eye out just in case your water gets too low. If the water gets too low, make sure to add in hot water and not cold water, because if you add in cold water, it extends the cooking time, but if you add in hot water, it continues to cook and you don't have to wait as long and it doesn't get as mushy. So you see how the water level is getting kind of low now? So we're just gonna add some more hot water. And if your zongzi is floating, you take a little dish and you just put it on top so it weighs them down. Just like that. Now that it's been an hour to an hour and a half, we're gonna turn off the heat and take the zongzi out of the water. So let's turn off the stove. So we're gonna take out the weight, and be careful, it is very, very hot. I wish you guys can smell how good it smells in here. So the reason why we use bamboo leaves is to give the rice fragrance. So we call this term xiang, and you can use xiang in a lot of ways, but this type of xiang is to give it a really, really nice aroma. So let's take out our zongzi. Be very, very careful, they're really hot. So sweet zongzi you can actually eat chilled, but savory ones is always best when it is nice and hot and steaming. Carefully cut the thread and unwrap. This is so much fun. Okay, carefully, carefully. Ooh, that looks so good. Oh my gosh. So if it's not obvious, you don't eat the bamboo leaf. The bamboo leaf is just to keep the zongzi together and for fragrance. So unfortunately, mine did fall apart a little, but it still smells so good and I am so excited. As you can see, mine did not come out perfect. Normally, they're supposed to keep their shape, but it's okay as long as it tastes good. Speaking of tasting good, I'm gonna try some. So I got a little bit of everything in one bite, and let's see. Oh my god. Okay. That is really good. Oh my goodness. It's really fragrant from the bamboo leaf. The rice has a lot of flavor from the pork marinade, as well as us stir frying it beforehand. And of course, the pork is amazing. Do you see how QQ? We call it QQ, but how chewy, and like, look at that bounce on the pork belly. Oh my god, it melts in my mouth. So good. So happy, so satisfied. And that's it. I hope that you guys had fun with me today, and I hope that you give this recipe a try. And the thing is about zongzi is that you can put in what you love and take out what you don't. You can even make vegetarian style as well. The important thing is to have fun and enjoy. And I hope that each and every one of you have a very, very happy Dragon Boat Festival. I have a Teespring if you like to support the channel. I have a lot of super cute designs that I'm so proud of. So please check it out if you can. It really does help us out. Link is in the description below. So what do you guys think? Do you have a favorite zongzi style? Do you like sweet ones or savory ones? Leave a comment down below because I would like to know. Also, leave a comment if you can. It really does help out small channels like mine. You can also let me know what topics you would like to see me cover in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to J Palace Yamingong. I would very much appreciate it. And until next time, 端午节快乐！再见啦，拜拜。